Hey guys, Zack here, and welcome back to another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Playmates 11-inch Godzilla 2004. Now this version of Godzilla comes from the 2004 film Godzilla Final Wars, which I've talked about before a couple times, and to be completely honest, I'll say it again, it's a movie that, first introduced me to Godzilla. Of course, the first one I technically watched was the 98 movie, but that one's not really like a legit Godzilla movie. The first legit Godzilla movie I've ever seen was Final Wars, and that's the movie that turned me into a Godzilla fan. But watching it now, it's not really my favorite movie. It's not a bad movie by any means. It's still very entertaining, but it's not my favorite, if I'm going to be honest. So yeah, I've talked about this movie before in the past, so I'm not really going to go into too much detail. So yeah, anyway, the new Godzilla figures now, well, there's still, some being done by Bandai, of course, but, as of, American retailers go, I feel like the company that's handling Godzilla figures right now is Playmates, which are responsible for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toys, and they also made toys for the 2005 King Kong movie by Peter Jackson, which I had a lot of those toys when I was a kid, and really quickly, I just want to say that those were incredible. I don't really have a lot of them left. My Vastodontosaurus broke, unfortunately. I do have a Kong somewhere. I don't know where he is, but I know he's somewhere. Somewhere in my house, but yeah. Yeah. So, starting off with their Godzilla line, basically what they did was they took existing figures and just kind of remolded them and just kind of they remolded them and just kind of made, edit them a little to make it an original thing, which is a little lazy, and that's kind of what they did with this figure. This figure is a sort of remold of the Bandai Creations 12-inch Godzilla 2004, which is a figure that, I reviewed on this channel a while back, but yeah. To be honest, I do prefer this figure a little more than that one, but that figure, I feel like, in my review, I don't think I said any positive things about it, but I feel like it's a nice figure overall. Not the best, but yeah. Anyway, I've been rambling on for too long, so let's just get into this. So before we take a look at Godzilla himself, we'll take a quick look at the packaging. And I'm not really a big fan of this packaging. This is supposed to be Playmate's rendition of the new Bandai Creations box for, King Caesar and the figures you can get in Walmart now. And I've never really been a big fan of that packaging. I feel like it's been basic, but I feel like the thing I didn't really like was the fact that they used a picture of a Godzilla figure in the corner here. I feel like it was just a random picture of Godzilla, from the movies, not so much a toy, then I feel like it would work, but, because they used, the Bandai Creations Godzilla 2000 here, which I don't think works. I think it's weird that they have toys for, the packaging, on the packaging at least, but, yeah, I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but I feel like just a regular picture of Godzilla here would have worked perfectly, but, anyway, we have Godzilla 2004, in the corner here. We have Playmates toys and ages 4 and up, and the Godzilla logo here. On the side, we just have Godzilla 2004 and Godzilla Playmates toys. And on the back, we have a very nice picture of Godzilla from Godzilla Final Wars. I actually think that this looks very nice. And a bit of a bio here, so if you want to pause and read it now, then go ahead. Alright, on the bottom here, we have some legal information. On the bottom, nothing at all. Oh, well, there's my tripod. And that's pretty much it for the box. Now for Godzilla himself. And first we'll take a look at the painting on this figure. And the painting on this figure is not bad. It's pretty basic. Not perfect either. There are some things I would have done differently, but for the most part the painting is fine. So let's take a closer look. So most of the body is this grayish color, which in Godzilla Final Wars it was more of a blackish color. So I feel like if this was a blackish color, then I feel like this would look a little cooler. It still looks fine, and good for kids, but I feel like, something like this, a darker color would have been nice, is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, the dorsal plates are airbrushed this whitish color, which does look nice, and there's even a little bit of airbrushing in the center of the dorsal plates here, which again, looks nice. The toenails and fingernails are painted white, as well as the teeth here. The eyes themselves are painted orange with blue pupils for some reason. Not black, just blue, which I think is a little weird. But the tongue is painted pink. I don't know if you can see it there, but there's the tongue. And the inside of the mouth, the rest of it at least, is not painted. So, yeah. that's pretty much it for the painting on this figure. And the painting on this figure, it's not supposed to be high quality. These Playmates figures are more for like kids, which is understandable. And as far as kids' toys goes, I feel like that these, well, for the most part, some of them look good. I'll talk about that near the end. But, you know, the painting here, it's nice. I feel like if it was like, you know, more black, I feel like it would look more appealing. But, you know, for the most part, the painting here, it still looks nice. And I'd say, you know, it still looks appealing to kids. So I'd say the painting on this figure, it's alright. So the painting here gets a pass. Now I'll take a look at the articulation. And the articulation on this figure, again, it's basically a, you know, just a slightly shrunken down version of the Bandai Creations 12-inch Godzilla 2004, so there's not a lot that's new here, but there are some new joints, so we'll take a look at those. So the head can twist 360, the arms can move forwards this much, and backwards about that much. The legs would be able to move 360, but unfortunately, the arms here do kind of get in the way, so that is a little disappointing, but I feel like if you were to, like, kind of force it, then maybe, but you could possibly like scratch up the paint, so I wouldn't recommend doing that. The feet are on swivels, which is pretty new for Godzilla figures like this. Usually with like the Bandai Moving Monster Series figures, there's usually nothing here, but yeah, granted, this is only so like the figure could fit in the box, but it's still something, I guess. The tail here is on a swivel, and you do have to attach the tail once you do get it out of the box, but the other end of the tail can twist as well. And that's pretty much it for the articulation on this figure. Again, this is pretty much a modified version of the 12-inch Bandai Creations Godzilla 2004, but, you know, the articulation here, it's still fine. I do like the ankle articulation, but again, that's only to fit it in the box, but for what it is, the articulation, I'd say, is good for what it is. So the articulation on this figure gets a pass. Now I'll take a look at the sculpt, and the sculpting on this figure, I feel like is slightly better than the Bandai Creations 2004 Godzilla, the 12-inch one, I mean. That figure, its sculpting wasn't bad, but it didn't look great. The sculpting here is slightly improved, so I do like that a little more. Mainly in the head. The one thing I didn't really like about the 2004 Bandai Creations 12-inch figure was the head. I felt like it was a little off, but here they did kind of fix it up a little, and I feel like that this does look a little better. From the side, it does look a lot like the, you know, the 12-inch Bandai Creations figure, but like head-on, I feel like that the head looks pretty spot on to how he looked in Godzilla Final Wars. So yeah, from the front, I feel like that this figure looks great. From the side, this figure still looks nice, but I think he looks a little nicer from the front. And again, this head sculpt, I think, is great. There is one thing I don't like about the sculpt, which is the feet. For some reason, they're just hollow. They could have, like, they didn't have to fill it in. They could have just had, like, a piece of plastic just covering this, but yeah. This doesn't sound like it'd be the end of the world. In fact, you know, for me, it's just gonna, like, stand like that, so it's not gonna be noticeable at all. But I feel like, you know, if a kid were to play with this, I feel like you just want to, like, you know, have Godzilla step on things, and I feel like that'd be hard, because there's just this, like, gap here. So, yeah. Also, minor nitpick, I think the tail might be a little too short. It's not the worst thing in the world, it still looks nice, but if it was just a little longer, I feel like it would look a little better. Maybe, like, up to here, at least? Maybe? I don't know, but, yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the sculpt, and the sculpting on this figure is, for the most part, very good, and is slightly better than the Bandai Creations 12-inch Godzilla 2004, but for the most part they're equal, but this one is just a little better. So the sculpting on this figure, I'd say gets a pass. Now I'll take a look at the detailing, and the detailing on this figure is, for the most part, it's alright. It's something to write home about, but it still looks nice. So, the detailing on the head here looks very nice. All of these scales, and even his ears here, are defined very nicely. The neck itself, there is some scaling, but nothing here is really too well defined at all. I think that looks pretty flat. But the arms here, again, are detailed very nicely. And the side of the body, I feel like the detailing gets a little better here. And the legs have very nice detailing as well. And even the feet. All the creasing and scaling, everything here looks nice. The front of the figure doesn't look perfect, but on camera it looks nice, but in person it's not really the best, so there's that. And going to the tail here, all the scaling and whatnot is detailed very nicely, and everything is nicely defined. And even the dorsal plates here, I feel like the dorsal plates here, they're nicely defined. Again, nothing special, but they look good. And that is pretty much it for the detailing on this figure. And the detailing on this figure, for the most part, it's good, but there are some spots where it definitely could have used a little more defining. So, the detailing on this figure, I'd say it gets 3/4 of a pass. So, at the end of the day, should you get this figure, if you're a collector, it wouldn't be the end of the world if you bought this figure, but at the same time, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing either. You know, this figure, for a collector, it's not bad. If you already have the 12-inch Bandai Creations figure, then maybe skip out on this, but I guess it just depends on your preference. However, these new Playmates figures are more meant for kids and not so much collectors. So I feel like, you know, in a kid's point of view, I feel like that this is something a kid is going to absolutely love. I know if I was a kid and I got this, I would, you know, love this. This figure, it's nice and sturdy, it's solid, like, I'm shaking it, and, like, nothing's really, like, you know, moving. So this is a very solid figure, and that's something that can't really that's something that can't be said about the Jurassic World toy line as of now, because, like, those figures, they look great, but the defect ratio is, like, kind of awful. That, and, like, they feel very fragile. I don't have one, like, on me, but a lot of the joints feel very fragile. This, it's solid, it's, like, sturdy. This thing is meant to last. If I were to, like, you know, drop this on a sidewalk, I feel like maybe a couple scratches, but I feel like this thing would be, you know, do very nicely. If I were to drop, like, a Jurassic World figure on the sidewalk, then I feel like it would break. Or not really break, but get damaged in some way. You know, a lot more than this thing, so yeah. So, at the end of the day, collector, this isn't the best thing to get. There are better figures than this, but it wouldn't be the end of the world if you got this. But if you're buying this for a kid, or if you are a kid, then I definitely recommend this figure. I feel like, you know, considering their other figures, like their 6-inch Shin Godzilla, which I've seen in person, and let me tell you, it does not look good. But yeah, for the most part, this is a good figure. I feel like one of Playmate's best figures as of now, which isn't really saying a lot. This figure is still, like, you know, I'm a collector, so I'd say that this figure is just okay, but again, for a kid, it's very nice, but a lot of the Playmates figures so far, I plan on getting the 6-inch Kong, and I feel like stopping there until we get new figures, because a lot of them, like their Gigan figure and their Destroya, I'm not really too bothered to pick them up at all. I feel like, you know, as of now, I'm going to get this guy, which I already have, and if I ever find it, then I might get the 6-inch Kong. I'm not really, like, in a rush to find it, but if I just so happen to find it, then I'll pick it up. So, yeah. Anyway, if you want to know how big this figure is, and here it is next to Dr. Billy Grant. And if you want to know the cost of this thing, at Walmart, this is a Walmart exclusive, by the way. So if you were to find this in Walmart shelves, then you would pay about 20 bucks, which is honestly not bad at all, considering, like, the overall quality. Like, it's nothing special, but it's very sturdy, and this thing is definitely meant to last for a long time. And I can easily see this doing so, yeah. Anyway, that is it for today. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, Zack out.